Hey, this is Rachel Cunningham, and you're listening to Joyful Love, episode 111. If you're ready to bring joy and connection back to your marriage, stick around. Each week, I give you the tools to up-level your thinking, open your heart, and bring joy and fun back to your relationship. Because it's not enough just to stay married. We want to love being married. Hello, friends. I am sitting here on a very, very hot Nashville summer day, and I know there's this heat wave running across the world right now, and so many people, at least in America, I don't know what it's doing in the rest of the world, but so many people in the States are going through this massive heat wave, and I'm feeling your pain today. We have, in addition to that, we have a ton of work going on in our house right now, and it's a lot. So there's people in and out helping us remodel our stairs, and my son is in and out remodeling his RV. And in addition to that, our air conditioner is just not operating at optimal speed. It's like it runs all day and it only cools to a certain amount. So we have someone coming out tomorrow to look at that. So it feels like a very busy home right now with a whole lot of heat. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I'm wearing a sundress and my hair is wet because I just got out of a cold shower, and I'm just embracing the sundresses and embracing the cold showers right now because it's a heat wave beast out there today. Speaking of heat waves, if you are going through perimenopause, you know the pain of those midnight hot flashes or the midday out of nowhere hot flashes. Normally I'm cold natured, and so many more times this year I've just had to rip off my layers at random times. And if you're going through perimenopause, you've got this whole other heat wave going on inside of your body. And along with, 80 other symptoms that so many of us struggle with during perimenopause. And that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. I'm bringing on Dr. Carla Atkinson, who is a functional health practitioner today. And we're going to talk all about the ins and outs of perimenopause, what to do, where to start, how to know if you're going through it, and what kind of test to talk to your doctor about. So be sure to listen to this episode and maybe even take some notes. And so many of you are just like me, and your kids are growing and they are, getting older. They can take care of themselves. Maybe they're moving out like mine are. And you're going through this during a time of life where you feel like maybe there is a little bit more time for you that you can take care of yourself. There are others of you like Carla who you're taking care of young children while you are going through perimenopause. And that adds a whole new element of, just like confusion of who to take care of, yourself or your children. So Carla's going to talk about that today. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring her on here, because she understands that on a whole new level. Carla is part of my Stoked Marriage Mastermind, and it's been such a joy to have her in there, and also just to kind of share her wisdom in there as well on things like this. I'm not going to ramble on and on. I want you to hear Carla. So without further ado, here is Carla Atkinson. I met Carla last year when she joined the Stoked Marriage Mastermind, and I was just really curious about her. Whenever other coaches join my world, I'm always curious about them. So I dove in and I just started looking her up, and I was like, oh my gosh, she sounds amazing. And so, in the Stoked Marriage Mastermind, a couple times, some questions have popped up around health. And Carla, you are a health coach. And so I've kind of pointed to you sometimes, and you've answered some of those questions. And I think you're an incredible asset in the Stoked Marriage Mastermind. So Carla is a functional health practitioner and life coach. And Carla, I would just love for you to tell the audience about you, and also just, what you do, who you serve, and also tell us why you do this. What brought you to be passionate about this work?
Yes. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'd love to share and be in your community. I pretty much, I think, as most functional health people, certainly the ones that I know, we come through it through our own struggles in life. And for me, I was pretty good up until adolescence, which is funny that we're going to talk about hormones and things today. But the adolescence and all that kind of challenge that was happening around then, I really struggled with a lot of low self-esteem. I had anorexia, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all of those kinds of things. And I never really understood why I kind of struggled as I did. I had a pretty good family life, like pretty, good life in general. Like, why was I struggling like I was? I didn't understand it. And so that kind of then went on, and I've had lots of gut issues. I've had parasites and things like that. I've got scoliosis, so I've got a lot of back pain and things. So lots of different avenues really of health that I've struggled with, and of course go to all the conventional things, trying to get answers, trying to go to doctors and see psychiatrists, all that kind of thing. And nothing was really hitting for me. I wasn't really getting the results that I want, trying heaps of different antibiotics, getting worse essentially. And so just I was very much was a bit of a weird child. I like to dissect things and really figure things out. Always
Yeah.
like to sort of ask questions and try and figure it out. And
Right.
myself has been my biggest research project.
Mm-hmm.
So always a massive passion of research science. And I've got a doctorate in marine neuroscience. I'm literally a research scientist. I just love finding out things, asking questions and digging deeper. So obviously with all these things that were going on with me, I wanted to understand that a little bit better. And
Yeah.
so I found functional diagnostic nutrition, and started to do all my own online work through that and training through that. I've been at university pretty much all my life, and
Yeah.
now going back to school and doing a bit more because
Yeah.
I love learning.
Right.
um, but yeah, just sort of switching fields, but it's I've always been in physiology, always like understanding the workings of the bodies and animals and things in general. So that's kind of why I came into what I do. And then through that, just like it just like a whole cavern opens up of all the different options, because I mean health it's huge and often really really contradictory, because we're all individual people with different bodies and different lifestyles. And so it was like really figuring out what it was for me. And so we were given, hormones is like a big thing that I think as females we put the blame on everything.
Mm-hmm.
We just, we're feeling this way. Oh, it must be our hormones. But when I truly understood that hormones is so far down the line, like there's so many things up to that point that impact how they are, how they work, how they are balanced or not balanced. That kind of really opened up things. And so obviously lots to do with gut health, microbiome and everything, which is huge at the moment. Learning so much about that. But all of the kind of how it all pieced together, I guess, in my
Mm-hmm.
own lifestyle, my own perfectionist ways, my own self-critic, and how that impacted on a lot of things as well. And so that kind of really opened my mind, and I healed my gut through that. I managed to get rid of the Blastocystis hominis parasite that I had me like crippled in fetal positions and things. It was
Mm-hmm.
horrible.
Wow.
Um, and a lot of pain and a lot of, not being able to eat things, like I just drink a glass of water and it'd be in pain. So that's just not fun when you need to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
Um, so that was what I healed through there. And then I guess fast forward a few years, I was struggling with miscarriages. I had a couple of miscarriages, and I thought I was really healthy. I was working out every day, every week, 2 hours in the gym, eating really healthy, all the salads, all that kind of stuff. And then realized, that's not actually healthy. We really need to nourish ourselves. We need to have a balance even there, whatever balance is for us.
Yeah.
Um, and just figuring out what that was for me, really. And a lot of that has been through energetic healing as well. I found Reiki, so I'm also a Reiki master and a theta healer. And that's kind of like going in and looking at those belief systems, getting in touch with your body again, rather than always looking externally. And this is kind of like a big thing that I really work with my clients, is they want a protocol, they want to know what to do. But that's very small part really of the picture. And it's really this whole, how are we living? How are we thinking about things? And why are we doing the things that we're doing? That's really where I find that the real magic kind of happens, which is why the life coaching side really just blends so massively well with helping
Right.
people through their health journeys as well.
Yeah.
Just understanding themselves better and being able to make really a life change, because it is a life change, and that sounds freaking scary and overwhelming. But because they want to, because it aligns better with them. They know why they're doing what they're doing. They want to do it. They've got the choices rather than the shoulds in their head of what they think they should be doing.
Mhm.
And they understand themselves better. So I'm really about empowering people to understand their bodies, why it's doing what it's doing, and getting their unique perspective,
Mhm.
and really helping through that. So I since became a mom of twins, so coming to where I am now.
Yeah.
Went through massive depletion, having had anorexia, having had parasites. You can imagine I was quite depleted,
Right.
and also all the working out that I was doing and everything. So I came into pregnancy very depleted, and then having a twin pregnancy again, we lose 10% of our minerals for a pregnancy, which
Mm.
is pretty much how our body functions and works. So I was incredibly depleted that, and then all the
Yeah.
depression, the anxiety come back after.
Yeah.
And so through, like, I think motherhood, that was another big aspect for me, is it's just really not spoken about, or it's spoken about in a fear mentality, I feel, and people dismiss it when they're pregnant. It's like, I don't need to hear your birth stories and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's I'm going to be fine, and it's great to be positive with things, but I think that as a society we lack that discussion points really as to what can happen and what could potentially happen.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't for you, but just to have awareness that you're not broken, you're not messed up, and you're not doing it wrong. Like, this is perfectly normal, and there's things of support there that can help you through it all. Essentially, it's not that
Yeah.
you have to just suck it up and get on with it because all
Yeah.
mums are tired. Like, it's so that's been a really big piece, and so that's why I sort of specialize now in depleted moms.
Mm.
I work with women, moms of old adult children as well. Like, we're all moms. We've
Yeah.
all met, and we're forever a new mom because our kids are always changing age and we've got new challenges.
You're
Um,
absolutely right there. Yeah.
yeah. so,
Yeah.
so that's where I am today and why I do
Yeah.
what I do today. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's an incredible journey from where you started to where you are now. And I love that you mentioned the pregnancy aspect of like how like that was one more aspect of going,
Mm.
oh, okay, I have to figure this out, right? And it's so interesting that, we do like from the time we're like probably when we hit like 10 or 11, 12, even our parents start to blame things on hormones. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, hormones do play an enormous role in how we feel, how we react to things, even just like our mindset during the day. It can fluctuate. And so hormones are an important thing, but they are not the only thing. And I think even as we enter perimenopause, even me, like I'm an integrative nutrition coach as well, and I've been
Mm.
out of that world so much that when I started going through so much in the fall, I mean, I felt like extremely depressed. I was so anxious and so many things and I was still able to show up in my life. Thank God, because of life coaching. Like, if I didn't have those skills, I don't know what I would have done. Right?
That's
Like, I was able to show up, but I was also like, there is something majorly going on. And
mm.
and I went to my doctor and I was hoping that she would just go, okay, here's this magic hormone cream or whatever, and it would fix everything. And long story short, she did end up putting me on progesterone cream and it did help, but there was so much before that. It was
Yeah.
like I learned that I need to start looking at my gut health. I need to start looking at like how well is my liver detoxifying? How like all of the things affect our hormones. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Like what are some of well, actually, let's just talk about symptoms first. Like, what are some of the symptoms that people need to be aware of that we are entering a hormonal shift in our lives and starting to enter that perimenopausal state?
Yeah, well, I think just to sort of back up with the perimenopause, because hormones literally impact everything in the body,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily always going to be perimenopause that's happening. Like, generally we would go into perimenopause in our early 40s, but
Mhm.
changes can start happening sort of mid to late 30s, which I certainly wasn't aware of. I had my twins when I was 37, so I was
Yeah.
already probably well going into it, but I
Mhm.
just didn't know about it as much then. I'm
Yeah.
43 now.
Right.
And so um like my misunderstanding of what was going on, or just not fully aware of what could potentially be happening, was kind of a really big key. So whilst, I mean, there's so many different things, and hormones, we tend to think of just estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, but there's cortisol, there's leptin, there's ghrelin, you know, there's insulin, there's all of these different things that are running the show, essentially, of the messages of what's going on in our body. And we need certain nutrition aspects as well to help us be able to use those properly. So what will generally happen around that sort of mid to late 30s is that we start to get an ovulatory cycle. So we'll have a cycle, but we don't release an egg. Now, we do get progesterone from a little bit from different parts of our body, but mainly it comes from this corpus luteum, this sort of follicle left over when the egg gets released. And that's how we get most of our progesterone. So you imagine if that's not happening, there's a massive amount of progesterone that we're not then getting. Right. And it's not that we're every cycle not getting it. It's just sometimes we are, sometimes we aren't. And that's why we can sort of feel like we're great sometimes. And then other times like, where the hell did this come from? And just symptoms seem to come out of nowhere. With respect to progesterone, and often when perimenopause is sort of starting, if we are that sort of age, it'll start to show us things like PMS. It could be that we're getting a lot more migraines and headaches that are coming through. It could be that our cycles are slightly irregular. They're a little bit shorter or a little bit longer. We might be spotting just before they are. They might be more painful than normal. We might be more bloated than normal. We could have sort of started to feel cysts because, you know, going to the doctors and getting things checked out. Could be seeing cysts and things. Disrupted sleep, because we need that, you know, progesterone really helps to calm us down. Again, that kind of PMS aspect, because progesterone is really helping to calm us down. Weight gain, things like that. As well as if you're trying to get pregnant in the later 30s, which a lot of my friends were, it's that early miscarriage in the first trimester, because the progesterone is needed to have that uterine lining stable. Yeah. So that's kind of all the kind of starts of things. So there's lots of different reasons why that might be happening. It could be thyroid issues, it could be blood sugar issues, it could just be stress. You know, it could be so many other things. It's not necessarily that it is perimenopause. So that's kind of why it sort of ties in with the age. But then I know people that are going through it in 33 and stuff now, because I think of the stresses and the toxins in the environment now that are causing these hormonal imbalances. And so this sort of modern era, the modern woman is really going through it, I think. Right. And it's really, yeah, like it could be so many things. And that's kind of it. I like to think of it as a good thing, because there's so many aspects, therefore, that we can come in and support the body. It's not just hormone replacement, although that can be incredibly helpful. I know for me, I was really scared of hormone replacement, thinking, you know, breast cancers and stuff from what the previous research has been. But that's, you know, if you don't discount hormone replacement therapy, there's a lot more research done now. That study actually got debunked from the Women's Health Institute, and so initiative, sorry. And that's yeah, a lot of fear mongering around women's health, and patriarchy in science has not been the research on women, because they cycle, because there's too many changes that they can't do a normal scientific study, because we're too different. Like we can't control for us essentially. So we've not been studied the same.
Right. I just learned that women are just now starting to be studied, like, you know, in the last few decades. And it's so interesting that like all the studies were done on men.
Yeah, I know, it's shocking. But also now, because like women are in such prevalent positions in society and, you know, doing the job, we've got so much available to us that I think we can sometimes think we need to do it all. And we might just want to actually be a stay-at-home mom, and we think, oh, just a stay-at-home mom, you know, like it's no, like it's just what's good for you, and just question that. Like you don't have to do everything. And I feel like I certainly got into that of all of these grasps. I guess that's why I had my kids a lot later as well, because I was all focused on my career and that rather than family life. And so yeah, everything kind of gets pushed out a little bit. But we're in these positions now, and of course going through perimenopause and menopause in these positions, and it's really impacting our work ethic and how we can show up, and it's not understood. So I feel like there is a real research thing that's needed there for us to have that understanding and compassion, that we don't just have to just keep pushing on and through. Like this is freaking hard. Like it's you know, it's really hard, and just not having that understanding is well, it's not nice, and it's certainly not good for mental health and people in general. So they actually there's a study, I think it's by occupational medicine, and I think it was 65% of women in going through that like would be affected they found that they were like mental capacity, their memory, their ability to just have conversations, you know, like 'cause that you have that mental block that just happens and you're in meetings and you're like, I fucking know clearly what's going on, excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
And just and thinking, oh, I'm getting dementia or something, you know, like it's just your hormones, you know, like it's
Yeah.
and the support that can happen.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah.
It's so interesting too. Like I have a story came up in my mind of my best friend when she was taking care of her grandma, you know, much older, in her 80s. She was taking care of her grandma, and I loved the way she talked about taking care of her grandma. She was like, she is like a queen. I'm gonna like,
Mhm.
you know, these are her last days and she's a queen. And I kind of held that close to me, like as she was taking care of her grandma, like we are all queens, and can we like approach this time of our lives with that mentality that okay, this is a shift. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to accept myself where I'm at. I'm going to meet myself where I'm at, and I'm going to treat myself like the queen that I am. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's so difficult in so many areas, but like if we can like it starts in our minds, right? It starts with not beating ourselves up. And it's like, I mean, sometimes I wake up and I feel amazing. And then other days it's like, oh, today is a hard day. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna
Yeah.
like maybe cross a few things off of my to-do list and take a nap. You know, and like really nurturing myself and caring for myself in a whole new level right now is it's a practice.
Mm. Oh,
Right?
absolutely. It's a whole,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole mix
Yeah.
up, hey.
Yeah.
But it's so important, like that compassion for what you're going through, communication, like with partners, you know, in
Mm,
story when we're talking about relationships and things, like your husband's not going to understand what's going on. You don't understand what's going on. You know,
right.
like they're not going to understand. Just
Yeah.
communicate, like you know, just have that open conversation. And this is really, I'm really struggling right now. Like I need your support in this. Also, not putting yourself in situations where you know you're going to get triggered. It's gonna, you know, you don't have the capacity in that moment. Like it's just how it is. Like by general, you're going to have some sort of fatigue and some higher stress because having that lack of hormones, it causes different things, inflammation and things in your body. It's a stressor on your body. You've got that stress response going down. So your resilience isn't there. You don't have that patience and capacity. So don't judge yourself when you do snap and then start hating, like, who the hell am I becoming? Just where can I say no? Where can I, you know, really get those strong boundaries in place and communicate how you're feeling? And you can always apologize, you know, like don't have
Right.
to risk, but just have that understanding of yourself. And as easy as it is to say, I know it's so hard, but it really is. And I think that conversations like this, conversations with your friends that are going through it, like that's going to more normalize it for you. That yeah, it's not just the blame on women or hormones. Like this is
Right.
a hard time, you know. Adolescence, we were going through it then, and we know how hard that is with teenagers.
Mhm.
Pregnancy, like our hormones drop like so quickly then down to menopausal levels before they
Yeah.
start to come back again. You know, and this just isn't talked about very much. People don't understand that this is part of what's kind of going on. And I
Yeah.
think as well, just going off on rambling, like my brain's like giving me all this
Yeah.
information. With women, like the about 100 years ago, I think the average life expectancy was 50. So average woman goes into menopause about 51. So women weren't even going into menopause, like we weren't seeing it as
Wow. That's
much.
so
So
interesting.
it's like, you know, it's all kind of, not that it is brand new. I mean, there's
Mhm.
research in of Egypt, you know, in Egyptian times they would use different herbs and things to try and help women in that later life.
Mhm.
But it's not something that's been around in society and that understand. It's you know, it's really starting to in this last sort of few decades really is really getting
Yeah.
more acknowledgement. So
That's,
yeah, literally we're going through it all and learning,
yeah.
and it's yeah.
I am so curious, like if there's a woman listening, which I know there are so many listening who are going through this and they're like, yep, me too. I'm going through something right now. I'm in my 40s and sometimes 50s, like going through something.
Yeah,
Where would you suggest they start? Like there's so much information, so much about
yeah,
hormones that the average person doesn't understand. And what I've found is usually when people go to their doctors or their OBGYN, they'll talk about this stuff and they'll say, oh, we can test your hormones, and they test a few hormones and say, well, you're normal for your age, and they don't really do much, or they put
yeah,
them on the birth control pill and kind of masking the symptoms and maybe not dealing with the underlying things, right? So can you talk to that? Like talk to that woman who is like, what do I do if my doctor isn't really helping me with this?
Yeah, it's like, as with anything at any stage of life, I think this for a woman at any age that is going through this is a really common story. That unfortunately the doctors and that just don't have that kind of knowledge at the moment. But there are a lot of functional practitioners out there, lots even just on Instagram that are giving so much free information. So it's sort of finding people like me and things that can get that and working with somebody like that. There's lots of group programs out there now as well, which make it more affordable if money is an issue for you. But researching, like, don't take no for an answer. Like, get to the bottom of things really. With respect to perimenopause and where you would start, for me, it would be like your age. So if you're in your sort of late 30s and early 40s, then it's more likely that yes, it could be this. But like I said previously, it could be thyroid, it could be diabetes, it could be other things that's going on. It could just be stress.
Yeah.
So the first sort of thing I would say, excuse me, is get honest with yourself. How are you depositing into your health account? How are you actually using those funds? How are you replenishing them? Like, look at your life. You're not in your 20s and just living off cup noodles and stuff and being able to bounce back after a night out. Like,
Yeah.
look at your life realistically, and are you actually enjoying it? That's a big part. Like, and this is why life coaching is so integral. Like, we live in these shoulds so much of all these things that I should be doing, and we're just burning ourselves out. We might say that we're not stressed because we love our life, but we've got all these constant worries, we've got all these constant demands on our lives, and we're saying yes to all the things. We're trying to be the ideal wife, woman, and all of the things. And it's just not sustainable. So just get honest with yourself. Like, I like to do this thing where I look into the mirror, into my eyes in the mirror, you see into your soul. It's a whole different connection. And just ask her what she needs right now and give her that as best you can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where I would start, like that kind of lifestyle thing. Are you actually happy? What's going on right now?
Yeah.
Then from there are a whole heap of different things. I would say start with your GP, start going there and tell them your symptoms. If you can request tests, then you want a full thyroid panel. You don't want to settle for just the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. That's just a messaging signal from the brain. And you want in that between that 0.8 and 1.5. A lot of people will say 2 is okay, but that's more hypothyroid in my book. And so really trying to get those, figure out what's going on there. Are we getting those thyroid hormones right? Because the thyroid is so influenced with our metabolism, with our digestion, with our mood. It's like the pretty much the power engine, if you will, of the body.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a really good place to have a look to start with. And again, because of diabetes and things, looking at your HbA1c, seeing where that's at. You want it below 5.3%. Your B vitamins, glucose, probably vitamin D. Although if that is low, I wouldn't be supplementing synthetic vitamin D personally. That will really impact with a lot of your minerals, potassium, magnesium, vitamin K, which can really imbalance things. If you have low vitamin D and you're living in the sunshine, you're getting out a lot in the sunshine, then it's probably your body purposely keeping it low, and there would be something going on with calcium there. So that would be something to look into.
Okay.
And then a full blood count, looking at the liver, looking at the adrenal function, all that kind of stuff. You can do an adrenal profile, which will look at the cortisol regulation. That's going to give you a really good picture of that rhythm that's going through the day, because again, that relates to all of your stress resiliences and things, but all inflammation in your body, your energy in your body and things. Cortisol is seen as that stress hormone and kind of bad, but it's really, really good for us. And people that are doing cold therapy and fasting and stuff are feeling good because of cortisol, not because of therapy itself, but that's another topic.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that someday.
Yeah, that's yeah, I've got lots of opinions about that. But yeah, testing hormones at this time, because what's happening is your progesterone will be normal, and then it will be, because you are releasing an egg and then it's not, and then it is, and then it's not. Estrogen as well, sort of as we're going into those 40s, will be going like up and down, up and down. I've heard it described really well, like a ketchup bottle, where you're banging on the ketchup and nothing's coming, then you've got heaps and then nothing. And that's kind of what estrogen's doing. It's literally like all over the place. So if you're doing a test, like, you just have no idea. It could be any point in that frame is what's going on. So it's not going to really give you the best picture at this time, because it's just so variable. Symptom tracking, getting really clear on what's happening with your symptoms, what changes are happening, when they're happening in your cycle, all that kind of stuff, getting really aware of your body and doing sort of these foundational tests is going to really help. I'm all about mineral testing, so I do hair tissue mineral analysis. That's because minerals are needed for your hormones. They're needed for, they're described as the spark plugs to the chemistry of life, like they're needed for all life to happen. And so in balancing these, we get a good idea of what your thyroid is doing, what your adrenals are doing, your inflammation, liver, all of those kinds of things, stress resilience, all of that, even personality, which is mind-blowing with minerals. We can see if you're feeling really stuck, or if you're apathetic, or if you're depressed, or if you're really like type A personality and stuff like that. It all shows in your minerals. So we can change a lot of things or manage a lot of things through nutrition, through supplementation, and looking through there. So those are kind of like the main tests. Some women have pelvic problems as they come into perimenopause. So a pelvic exam may be something that is to look at, within the uterine environment, particularly if you've had babies and things have shifted down there, if you're in a lot of pain, then that's something that is available as well to look at. And then as you further sort of get into menopause and things, then you might want to be starting to look to hormone testing. Then if you're considering the HRT, wanting to make sure what your levels are, where you feel good, and managing it through there with a practitioner that can do that for you.
Right. As you were talking, I was just like, there's so much that that a regular doctor is not going to do. So can you tell me, for the audience, for those who do not know what a functional health practitioner is, can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So functional is literally how your body is functioning. That's kind of how I sort of see it. I always heard of, when I first heard of functional doctors, I just thought about functional training and in the gym and like how you're moving your body. But it's literally how your body is working. So the biochemistry, the sort of literal chemistry of your body, how it's actually working. And so we're looking at those underlying causes that are causing symptoms, rather than general medical doctor wouldn't look to those things. They're more like, oh, you've got these symptoms, you can have these drugs and we can take that away, like numb that so you don't feel it anymore. But it's not fixing the underlying cause. And there's many reasons that, that symptom could be there. And by numbing that symptom, others can pop up elsewhere, or it can just come back with more vengeance. And so with a functional practitioner, they are really looking at a full holistic, as cliche as holistic sounds, it's literally everything. It's how you're living your life. It is the thoughts, processes, and things of what you're doing, literally what you're doing day to day, how you're eating, how you're moving, all of the things. And then they'll do different functional testing to see how the body is functioning in different aspects. So for a lot of people like myself, we start with the bloods and with the HTMA, because that's like literally the foundational pieces. If they're out, then it's really hard to do the other things. We can do kind of allopathic things up here with different supplements and herbs, similar to what a doctor can do, but we're not, again, fixing that underlying issue. So it's that full health history. You want to really make sure that a practitioner does a full health history, really looks into everything for you. And then it's doing these underlying tests as to what's really imbalanced in the body and how can we support it. So whilst I say hormone testing, it is generally what I would do is after I've at least worked with someone, at least 3 months to 6 months, because there's so much else that kind of could be impacting that. Is, we can look there and yes, there's going to be imbalances, and we can give you some, if you're really symptomatic and really struggling, then we can give you certain things to help with those symptoms specifically, but to fix them, it's going to be the underlying things. So it's kind of a case by case basis as to what you're struggling with and how intense that is.
I love that. What I'm hearing you say is that you're not just going to deal with the symptoms and mask the symptoms, but you're going to look and see what's causing it, and look and make sure all the things are functioning, so that you're not just like, okay, let's just do whatever to get through this. You're actually looking at the body and saying, what can we do to help you feel your absolute best as soon as possible? Because we're looking at the whole thing. And that's
because it's all intertwined. Your body doesn't work in segments. Everything's connected, mind, body, and spirit. Like, it's all connected. It's all going to impact each other. And again, with hormones, like, they all impact each other. Minerals all impact each other. If you just go and take one standard supplement, magnesium or something, it's going to throw other things out if you don't know what's going on and if you actually need it. It's not. And I think this is where the over information that we get online and things now, people can be taking things that we think are safe and healthy and good for us, but it can be throwing off a lot of issues, like vitamin D supplement, the synthetic one that I mentioned. Zinc's another one. When people have copper issues, they can get real bad anxiety and real big mood swing just taking zinc.
Right.
Like everyone should take zinc, shouldn't they? It's like immune system health,
Yeah.
and it's like it's really understanding what's going on with your body. And I think but what I see is like you're not broken. It's not that you're broken. Like I just, it breaks my heart when people just like feel so helpless. It's
Mm.
there's things that can be done. We just, yeah, need to dig a
Yeah.
little bit deeper.
Yeah, I love that you said that we are not broken. Our bodies are just doing what they should be doing. And some of the symptoms are saying, hey, like it's so interesting to look at our symptoms as our body is working for us. It's saying, hey, something is
Yes.
off. You might be
Yep.
deficient in this. You might be, right? So, like, can we
Yep.
stop judging our bodies and start like paying attention and saying, oh, you're
Yeah.
telling me something. This is amazing. My body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body is amazing and it has an amazing innate ability to heal. It's always trying to do its best for you. It's trying to keep you alive in the best way it possibly can with what it's got. So what resources are you giving it to be able to do that? How
Yeah.
are you treating the body, to be able to get the best from it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm at a stage in life where I'm nearing the other side of parenting. I mean, my kids will always be a part of my life. They'll always need me. And but they don't need me like they used to. And so I have the freedom to sleep in if I want to. I have the freedom to take a midday nap most days and go to bed early if I want to. And I have the freedom to sit down and eat a proper lunch instead of like, rushing
Yep.
through. Um,
Or
and
leftovers, living off crusts.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And Chris and I are both entrepreneurs, so our work never ends. So we do have to like kind of like manage our
Mm.
minds around it and say, okay, enough is enough. We don't have to constantly work. But even with being entrepreneurs, looking at like those times when I was a parent, like and all my kids were young or toddlers or teens, right? The two hardest phases. Like that was so much to deal with just in parenting. And I know you are in the throes of both. You're in your 40s. You see the value and the importance of taking care of yourself first. And also you have two twins.
Yep.
And so I want you to just kind of speak to the person who is in your situation, who's parenting and going through some of this. What would you have to say to them?
Um, Self-compassion, surrender is one big word that I've come to a lot for myself is surrender. And yeah, having that kind of driven mentality and all the things that you want to do and they can't. I mean, that's mum life in general. Doesn't have to be at this age when
Mhm.
things just go out the window that
Yeah.
you've planned. Just having that compassion and for me, I think it's a personal thing for everybody as to what kind of works best for you, and it's kind of like what we dig out. But for me, it's firstly being giving myself permission to say no and to slow down. Having that sort of perfect mother myth in mind of how I'm supposed to show up and do all the things, but then actually realizing I can't freaking do this and I'm really, really struggling.
Right.
And giving myself permission to drop the ball, if you will,
Yeah.
and say, no, I can't do this right now in this season of life. Um, Getting really clear on your values is huge. And not just picking words off a value sheet, like really sitting with those words and seeing how they show up in your life. What do they
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
for me, like I really valued family and connection. And yet I was putting the boys to bed and trying to do it as quickly as possible so I could go get away and have some me time because I needed me time. But
Yeah.
then when I realized, like, I love my kids, like, I want to be with my kids. So let's make bedtime a really enjoyment connection piece time that I don't want to run away from. And that
Mhm.
can be easier said than done. I'm so some mums are like, well, whatever. But just what's true for you and asking for support. That's another thing for me. I really don't ask for help. And because I feel like it's like means I'm failing or I can't do it. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
can't do it. And I don't know who I'm trying to prove it to, probably just myself, I think.
Yeah.
But realizing, like asking for help, you're not their only person. You hopefully have a partner. You hopefully have other people that you can call in the family. I know that modern days is sometimes not the case,
Mhm.
but trying to get support when you can. And sometimes if that needs to be paid for you to get a little bit of time for yourself, then maybe that is. And also for with small kids, it is only a season. It as freaking hard as it is and as long as it seems, the days are really long, but that time in the grand scheme of things is really quick.
Yeah.
And again, that can seem like, oh yeah, I know, but and it
Mhm.
is, but just being honest with yourself and what you kind of want really from life,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
how that looks and how it shows up,
Right.
and giving yourself that grace really is really
Yeah.
key.
Yeah. I remember when my kids were young, somebody told me, you are not going to remember in 10 years how messy your house is today. And I thought, yes, I am. But seriously, like, I do not think about it. You know what I mean? I don't think about how messy my house was. And I remember because some of the feelings of going, oh my gosh, I have to clean, I have to,
Mm.
constantly keep up on things. But those are just a few of the memories.
Yeah,
And the messy house is normal
yeah,
for parents of kids, right? Especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, I think. Like, I think
yeah.
sometimes we think stay-at-home moms should be able to keep up with it all. But what we forget is that when you're home, your kids are home and they're able to mess up all day long instead of just a few hours. So,
Yeah,
like looking at your life and being realistic about it is part of what you just said.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like that in the mess, it's just, yeah, it's going to happen. And when you've just cleaned the floor, it's going to, and you feel
Right.
like you're just repeating yourself and
Yeah.
nobody values you and all of that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But like, yeah, just try and not put that kind of pressure on things. I think for me as well, I think I just read something about it the other day, actually. It was, I'm not teaching my kids really. It's not the main thing here isn't me teaching my kids, it's what my kids are teaching me.
Mm.
And I think that they're the biggest mirrors to our own insecurities and
Mhm.
issues and things that we've got going on. I know mine certainly are. And so just trying to reflect that back on, who do I want to be? How do I want to actually show up in this situation? Like, I don't like being angry mess and stuff, but sometimes it's warranted. Like, actually, no, they need to know that this is not right.
Yeah.
And really, that's a really good question to ask yourself. How do I want to be in this situation? How do I want to show up?
Mhm.
Um, and then just be focusing there and not on just judging yourself as to other things. How do I actually want to show up in this situation? Am I happy with what's happening?
Mhm.
Um, and also understanding that this is real life,
Mhm.
and your kids are seeing what you're doing. If you can give yourself grace, if you can give yourself space, if you can do the things that you love as well and not worry too much about, oh, I haven't done the cleaning for a few weeks or whatever, um, your kids are going to see that and they're going to use those skills again in their life and have less stress. And we literally, like, I think we are, this generation is just cycle breakers. There's
Mhm.
so much generational sort of
Yeah.
traumas and things that have been going on, and there's so much that in healing ourselves and in really looking after ourselves, it really teaches a really good foundation for those kids to have
Mhm.
a better
Yeah.
um better mental health and happier, really, because life is about, for me, it's about joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Don't stress about things that don't matter.
Right.
um and if things are getting to you and getting stressful, there's something else there. There's something under that that's not being served for you. It's not that the house is dirty, it's something else that you're making it
Mhm.
mean. Like,
Yeah.
what is actually the truth? And get there, and then you'll
Mhm.
feel a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Stoked, we're reading Fight Right. I don't know if you're reading it as well,
I'm
but
just I'm just getting it through your
yeah,
your
yeah,
session.
yeah. But we're kind of doing a book discussion weekly on it, and one of the things that they talk about is like a lot of fights that we have are because of underlying dreams that are
Mm,
not being met. And when you just spoke to that, like it's not really about the dirty dishes. Like, what is it deeper? And so, like, even just asking yourself, like, what are my dreams that are not being met?
mm,
And and really digging there and spending some time with it to understand yourself more.
mm,
And I think this can be a time of life where, like, we can approach it with like, we're going to own this time. We're going to radically care for ourselves, not just our bodies, which is highly important, but also our souls and our minds, and like what our spirits want, what the deepest part of us wants. And that's not being selfish. It's being, it is being the best version of yourself. And your kids are watching that. I love that you said that. Like, your kids are learning
mm.
from you as well. of
Yeah,
how to
absolutely.
care for themselves and what they deserve too. They deserve to be healthy, right? That is a human right. We deserve to be healthy. We deserve time to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. And we are all worthy of that, women as well.
Yeah.
With all the things like
Yeah.
you're you showing up as your stress self or showing up as your best self. Like
Mhm.
to show up as your best self, you have to say no to things. You have to think of yourself first in some situations. You have to give yourself that time. And it might look like only windows and little pockets of time through the day in certain seasons.
Yeah.
It might look like bigger, more, flamboyant things that you can do. It's what's working for you and finding what works for you in those moments. And it can be forever changing. It's an evolving thing and
Right.
it's just learning about yourself, but keep checking in with yourself, keep asking. Sometimes it's just a breath. Sometimes it's just that this is hard, but I can do hard things.
Yeah.
I've got this, you've got this, I'm safe, I'm loved. Come on, I can do it. Yeah,
Hmm.
just little things like that, that is just have your own back. Mel Robbins does this high five challenge, which is
Yeah.
like wherever you see your reflection and high five yourself, like just
Hmm.
have your own back. Like
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up all the time. Where
Right.
are your thoughts going? How are you spending that energy in the day? What are you thinking about? Are you just beating yourself up, giving yourself shit that, oh, you've dropped that, you haven't done that again, you haven't done that again? Or are
Hmm.
you saying, good on you, you did those things? Or good on you, you gave yourself some space.
Yeah.
You stood up for yourself. That's kind of where the difference, that's where the healing and that's where the energy comes from,
Mm.
as well. And then
Yeah.
you feel better and you can do more, you can be more productive, you can do those passions that you want to do because you feel good. You're not
Right.
just drained and suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I love it.
mm,
I love it. Carla, tell people where they can work with you. If they want to know more about like how to work with you specifically, where should they find you?
drcarlaatkinson.com is probably what's my website. I've got all my handles that are linked off there. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah, I wanted
I,
to just say the Chinese medicine perspective of perimenopause. They
yeah.
call it the second spring. And I love that it's this thought of the chi, the life force that's flowing within you. When you're not menstruating anymore and you've not got that release and the blood and the energy going there, that's kind of like shut off. And then they reckon that the energy, the kind of blood flow and everything comes back to the heart space. And
Mm.
so we're like, got this wisdom. The heart is always speaking the truth, not the head, like the heart. And it's all about that nourishment, that wisdom within, and that redivergence of energy back to yourself rather than out of the system. I just think that's really beautiful. So, like,
That
this
is
can be a really
incredible.
incredibly powerful time for you. Yes, it could be difficult too, but it can be
Yeah.
incredibly powerful. And think about how best can I thrive in this situation? Not how can I get back to who I was? How can I thrive moving forward? And that's
Hmm.
kind of what I would really leave
Yeah.
with your
The
listeners. It's
second spring, that's the first time I've heard anyone say that. That's so
yeah,
beautiful. And what a glorious way to look at this time of life, the second spring. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna remember that. That was,
yeah. Because as well, like you've still got probably half of your life, your 40, 30,
yeah,
plus years left. It's a long
yeah,
time. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
It's all
absolutely.
about you now, hopefully, but your kids are older. For me, it's not.
Well, there's
But
so many. I mean, there's so many people. Like most of my friends my age still have kids at home. And so
yeah,
not everybody started at 22 like I did. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and even that, like what a beautiful time to raise kids and approach this time of life as, okay, this is also going to be about me, and that can
mm,
be for my kids as well.
yeah. And for girls, knowing their cycle and knowing their body, like if you have children, girls, teach them the cycle, teach them how they change through the months, teach them how to work with it, not be ashamed of it. And for boys, like let them understand a woman as well. Like teach, they're just as, they can be the best partners and supportive for their
Mhm.
future
That's
partners
so
too, and
true.
it's like,
Yeah.
and understand their mums, their sisters and everything as well, be that support that they need. So it's
Mhm.
not just something that you do on your own, it can influence so many other avenues and help so
Right.
many other people. Yeah,
Yeah. I like that you brought that up. I think sometimes, like, even myself, like when I'm going through something, I just kind of want to complain. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I just kind of want to complain so that everybody around me knows that my
yeah,
life is harder right now. But like, I love that you're talking about like talk about your body as it's beautiful, right? This is a change. I'm going through this right now, but I'm getting through it. And how amazing is my body? because it's going through change and it's, supporting me. It's giving me messages. I needed that reminder today, Carla. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Cool. But
Yeah.
it's okay to feel crappy too. Nothing's gone
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think also we can be honest. Like we can be honest and say, I'm struggling today and I need a
Yeah.
nap, right? Versus
Yeah.
shaming and beating up our bodies, right? Like
Yeah. Get that.
there's a
Yeah.
big difference there. We're not saying fake it and
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going forward. We're saying be honest, love
With
your
yourself
body,
as well.
speak
Yeah.
well of your
With
body,
yourself.
and go, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
we're all just trying to tell ourselves something different as well. It's not the people just around us, and then we blame them for not
mhm,
understanding when we're
yeah,
not even giving ourselves that compassion. So yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
that's so good. So you are in Stoked. I would love to just kind of hear, like let the audience know what you think about Stoked so far.
Well, I think it's awesome. I love all the little different workshops and the sort of off tangents that you do as well. Like, of course, the coaching is just total value for what you get, and the it's literally like almost one-on-one with you sometimes as well. Even in group situations. I love group coaching because you see your story in other people, so again, the whole thing that we're talking about, you're not alone. It's not just you going through it. We can consciously kind of know that we don't really get it until you hear it from somebody else, and that really helps that. I just love coaching and your kind of philosophies and things of how you go about things, and really how it starts with us, but not that it's all on us.
Hmm.
It's a big piece. But yeah, I like you doing the book club at the moment. I've not read the book, but I'm still watching the things and gaining.
Yeah.
I want to know what this challenge is that you're doing, the game challenge or something. So
Yeah.
I've got to watch that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a family, a community, and I think for women, it's just so powerful when we can come together and share stories. I just think it's been lost for a long time, and
Mhm.
any opportunity you can get to kind of come into beautiful communities like yours, and get that support on so many different levels,
Mhm.
through teaching that helping with all the nervous system work, which is huge. That's going to really help with perimenopause
Yeah.
as well. But just that understanding our thoughts processes, why we believe in what we do, all that foundational piece that you teach, and then you there to help people implement it in their own lives. It's just beautiful. So thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Carla, I know that so many people, there's a lot of information here, and I feel like you could even go back and like take notes and like say, okay, to my doctor, like I want to do this, but also if you want someone who really understands it on a deep level, please connect with Carla and yeah, connect. I encourage people to connect with you just because you do understand this, and working one-on-one with someone on your health is so powerful. And it
Yeah.
helps you to not feel alone as well as you're going through some of these changes. And
Yeah.
so yeah. All right.
Yeah, we
So
often talk ourselves out of things, and it's yeah, it's not. We can really support having that different perspective. I have actually I've done a complete guide to perimenopause, a free guide, so I can give you the link for that if you want to put that in show notes or anything.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just
Do
a
you
free
have it
thing,
right
and
now?
it gives
You
you
can.
all of the yeah, it gives you all the tests to ask for, all the sort of symptoms that are there, and it gives you a lot of the foundational pieces that you can start implementing yourself. If you wanted to try and do it on your own, and then realize that you're not doing it, and then you can get somebody else to help you figure out how to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's
So that's
perfect. Where can
something to
people
work
find
on.
that?
I'll give you the link. I'm trying to get it on my website. I'm just having issues at the moment. Do you
Okay,
want me? I can give you the link to put in the show notes, or it will
perfect.
be on my website at some point.
Yes. So everyone go to rachelcunningham.com, go to this episode, and then Carla's link will be in there. You can also go to carlaatkinson.com,
Dr. Carla Atkinson, yeah. .com.
drcarlaatkinson.com.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Carla.
My pleasure.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed talking to Carla. And if you want to reach out to her, go to my page at rachelcunningham.com and click on the podcast link. That will take you to this episode 111, and you'll be able to find all of Carla's information right there. And then coming up really soon in the Stoked Marriage Mastermind, we're going to be doing a series on health during midlife and how health affects our marriages. We're also going to be talking about just deeper on how to have a relationship with your partner during this time of midlife when you are needing to focus so much on yourself and how to communicate with your partner and how to kind of bring them into that your world as well and build some understanding there. And even though this has been a really intense year for me, as I'm experiencing so many symptoms that I thought, maybe I was immune to. I don't know why I thought that, but I think it kind of threw me for a loop. Just how much they affect you, right? All of these different symptoms, they affect you physically, emotionally, and just mentally, right? So it kind of threw me for a loop. But I still stand by the deep belief that you can use this time to build a deeper connection with your partner. You can use this time to get to know yourself more. You can use it to take radical care of yourself and let that radical care bleed into your relationship. What if both are possible? You could care for yourself on a deep level right now, and you can also improve your marriage. So if you want to join us on that series for health and marriage and how to have both, I want you to join the Stoked Marriage Mastermind. You can go to stokedmarriage.com to learn more. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button so that you can get notified every time I post a podcast on YouTube. And if you're a listener on iTunes or Spotify or on another of your favorite podcast platforms, don't forget to leave a review and follow so that you can keep up to date as well. All right, I'll see you guys there. Thanks for listening to Joyful Love. If you'd like to know more about my work, come visit me at rachelcunningham.com. That's Rachel spelled with an AEL, Cunningham.com.